Anyways, thank you very much for joining. We're going to talk about HF from an electric vehicle. Super excited to be here. So excited to have you all here. And we're going to just make this, I'm going to use my personal notes here. Before I get started, what I wanted to do is I want to ask who has ever owned or currently owns an electric or hybrid? Would you raise your hand? A large number of you. It's probably 50%. That's awesome. How many of you have installed ham radio in it, either successfully or not? One person. You and I are the only two here that's VHF though. Yes, okay. Oh yeah, sorry. How many VHF or HF or UHF? Still one person? Okay. Interesting. Haven't put in yet. So for those who, oh, I see, it's your wife's car. Yes, she has a license. Okay. For those who haven't put it in, is it because you're nervous about this? Or is it because you just haven't gotten around to it or you're not interested? I heard because it's the wife's car, someone else's car. Okay. All right. So that's very helpful. So what I'm going to do, all right. So let me just move on. All right, it's working. Agenda. So here's our agenda. I don't believe this camera's working, so I'm not gonna worry about that. What we're gonna talk about is I'm gonna do a quick welcome. I'm gonna go through the terms. I'm gonna talk really fast because we're starting off a little bit late here. Gonna talk about RFI, what's currently being said in the internet, in the world, and then tell you about my story and what I've experienced. And then can tell you what's possible, and then hopefully I'll wrap up for some questions. So for me, name is Craig, KC0DMF. Use any acronym you want for DMF. I've been at ham radio since 1998. I am currently a Tesla Model Y owner. I've had it for a couple of years. Really enjoy the Model Y. I do operate HF, UHF, and VHF for my car. One of the things I do need to do is I don't have permanent mounted, my UHF VHF isn't permanently mounted yet, so I'm going to fix that. And for myself, I'm a contester. I like doing specifically the mobile operation as a sport. I've done the Minnesota QSO party where you drive around in your vehicle to different counties and put them on the air. It's a blast. It's really my thrill to go to a county and put it on the air for other people to get. I've also been part of the Wisconsin QSO party and I've done Iowa QSO party as well. And then just a little bit about me. I am not an expert here. I think I heard someone joke about that. I'm really not an expert. I'm just a normal, ordinary guy who's gotten to get this to work. And I'm super excited to share what I've learned with all of you. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about terms. This will just put us all on common frame of mind or common ground. So what I'm noticing is from EVs and hybrids, there can be up to two different types of batteries in there. The one is called the one's the drive battery, and that's the battery that's used to propel the vehicle. And then the other battery is an accessory battery, and that runs the electronics in the cab. It runs the lights, the power doors, power windows. So what's interesting is like in my Tesla, for example, if my drive battery goes dead, I can still get out of my car, right? I can still lock the little things are really important. Also talk about regen braking or regenerative braking. What this really is this is when the momentum of the vehicle is used to take power off of the electric engine, electric motors, and recharge your battery. And it could be the drive battery or it could be the accessory battery, depending on what type of vehicle you have. Any questions on that so far? Okay. Then I want to talk about vehicle types. So obviously we have the two you're probably most familiar with, the ICE vehicle, which is the internal combustion engine, and then EVs, your electric vehicle. So internal combustion engine, that's of course your gas power car. When I was doing this talk, I was looking at hybrids, and this I thought was really fascinating. I didn't know how many different types of hybrids there were. And I think that's going to be important as we talk about, do this talk today. And we'll talk about that in a moment. And then the other piece is just touching on the miscellaneous. I'm not going to talk about these. You can look them up later. But I do mention it because I think this could be like if you picked one of those types of vehicles, NGV or something, that maybe that would pertain to you for RFI. Okay, so I'd like to talk about what's being said in the world. How I started here is I started getting interested in electric vehicles and started talking to my friends about it because I'm all excited about it. I feel like it's the wave of the future. It's cheaper, at least maybe not upfront, but it's cheaper for like repair, stuff like that. There are all sorts of reasons why I decided I wanted to go EV. I talked to my friends. I heard a very common story. It was, Craig, I don't think you're going to be happy. You're going to get a lot of noise on the radio. I know you're a radio contester. You like mobile operation. I don't think it's going to work. Also, you've got the range anxiety. I mean, there aren't many chargers around. You like going around the state, and you may not be able to reach the state with any of these electric vehicles because you have to charge up. So I was conflicted because I felt like I had to choose between ham radio and EVs. So it was a struggle. This is basically what I first thought. It can't be done. End of talk. Thanks. Have a good day. But let's wait a minute. Let me change my notes. Yeah. Okay, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk about what's being said. I want to zoom out and get kind of a high gist idea of what's being said about this. I'm going to read some of this here. One of the things that you're probably, most of you are probably familiar with, are automakers are removing AM radios from their EVs. And it's not just Tesla, it's BMW, it's Volvo, it's all these others. And the story behind it is that they're removing it because it's causing too much noise, that they can't make it work, or they don't want to spend the time to make it work. Another thing I saw was this article from Bob, WB4ABR. And this is a good article. He looked at solars and EVs. What he did is he's collecting RFI reports caused by solar and EVs and collecting some things. And he has some really cool stories. He owned a Prius a number of years. I want to say it was over 10 years ago. And he found that his AM radio didn't work well in the Prius because the Prius was making too much noise. He's a ham radio guy. He couldn't get the HF to work, or the radio to work, ham radio. And then he talks over the time. Later on, he starts making it happen. He starts noticing that his later Prius, by the way, is a hybrid. He talks about starting to see it work. So he was starting to have success with that. And then this last piece is a QST magazine article. This is dated back in 2016. If you look closely, it's 2016, on can home solar power and ham radio coexist? So this has been a problem for a while, and people are talking about it. So I'd like to zoom in a little bit on this discussion. I just realized I missed one part on the hybrid stuff, and I don't know if I even missed it, if I didn't show the slide or what, but One of the things I'm noticing with did I talk about the different types of hybrids? Did I show that? Okay. So the piece I was going to say about that is I wasn't going to read that whole slide, but what I'm noticing is with hybrids, you've got these different types, the mild, the full, the plug-in, and just at a high level, what's going on is the gas engine for the mild and the full will charge the battery of the hybrid, and that battery is used for the mild, it's just used for the power hungry elements of the vehicle. So getting the car moving from a dead stop, or what was the other one? Oh, any of the power hungry things like air conditioners. That's what that's used. That's what the battery's used for, and then the battery's charged by the gas engine only. And then when you go to hybrid or yeah, so here, I'll have you say that on the mic because that's a good point.
The big advantage of the hybrid is the regenerative braking.
Yes.
The stop and go stuff, which normally kills your gas mileage, actually becomes a benefit.
Yes. And so, yes, exactly. With the hybrids, with the hybrids, you can charge the battery either through the gas engine or through the regen braking. That's absolutely correct. And then the plug-in for the plug-in hybrids, then you have a third way of being able to charge that, and that's the plugging it in. But it's interesting. I think there's a link on that, but let me go on. So I talked about the high level, what's being said about RFI. And now I wanted to zoom in a little bit. Now I don't typically read notes, but I want to try reading notes on this one because this is fun. I want to say hysterical, but I probably shouldn't say that. So let me read this first one. So this is a form I stumbled upon. I wasn't even looking for this problem and I found this. So the person says, I have a close friend who has a big issue with their vehicle. It's pretty much acting like a Faraday cage. They own a Subaru Crosstrek hybrid. So now we're talking hybrid here. And they asked what could be done. And a couple of people posted things. And a couple of posts later, there was this response. And I want to read you this response because I love this response. I would venture to say, so let me pause there a second. He is speculating here. You'll find that he knows his stuff, and I trust this guy, but he is giving his opinion on something. But listen to this. And catch his kind of his tone, and I might dramatize this a little bit. I would venture to say that in a hybrid or electric vehicle, there are a ton of RFI generating circuitry, such as, and here's the list: buck converters, switching power supplies, charging circuits, a ton of CAN buses, CPU clocks galore, all from the onboard electronics. Ferrites would do little as the RFI is near field to the antenna. I bet if you sniff around the vehicle while the hybrid circuitry is actively operating, charging, discharging, you will see blades of grass from DC to daylight. I think this guy's an optimist, right? I love I mean, I feel like it might be a little over dramatized, but he has a strong opinion about RFI in electric vehicles. And that's both the EVs and the hybrids, right? I love that though. I think what he's saying in a sense is it can't be done. I disagree. So I started zooming in on one aspect of this. Oh yes, okay. I think I'm still on the negative side of things. Yes, that's right. So let me continue zooming in on one specific thing, and that is RFI in a hybrid. And I found this YouTube video from Mike, M0MSN. Great guy. He talks about his story. He got a Seat, I think it's pronounced. It kind of looked like say it, how he said it. Is it Seat? Okay, thank you. Seat. This is an E hybrid. He said that when he put the car into drive or reverse and let go of the brake pedal, it obliterated 10 meter. And he showed a video of this, and he started at S4 and it went to S7 or S8. So it was absolutely nasty. And then there's the YouTube video. Couple other people I talked with, they talked about the RFI occurs during regen braking, recharging the your accessory battery, during the acceleration, and even while using climate control. And so an optimist might say, oh, okay, that's easy. Just operate outside of those times. You're good to go. So what I want to say is definitely the problem is real. But let me also talk about the on the same forum, this was some other things I was seeing. So just a couple posts after Optimistic Guy, I found this. My wife is driving a 2009 Ford Escape Hybrid. Within a few days of coming home from the dealer, the guy installed, and this, by the way, he says his wife is driving the vehicle. He put a radio in his wife's vehicle, just FYI. So he installed a permanent NMO mount, installed the radio, no RFI problems. So what's going on here, right? This I thought was fascinating. And then there's this other YouTube video, which I really liked, Josh, KI6NAV. He starts talking, one of the first lines he says is, there's this misconception that EVs create a lot of noise. And the truth is, sorry, I messed it up. And the truth, okay, there's this misconception that an EV creates a lot of noise. And the truth is they really don't. Now, I want to be cautiously optimistic about that because I feel like there is evidence that they cause noise, but there is now also evidence that they don't cause noise, right? He showed an example of using 10 meter and 40 meter. It worked well. He had a very low noise floor. When he turned on the climate control, it gave a little bit of noise. He got hit S3, S4 on 40 meter. So generally the low frequency bands have more noise, but also sometimes on 10 meter. And that surprised me because I didn't expect to hear RFI on 10 meter. I only expected on 40 and 20. They also talk about, no one has talked about hearing noise on 2 meter and 70 centimeter. I thought that was interesting. I actually haven't experienced that either. And then one guy talked about experiencing RFI on the AM frequency as AM radio. And he said in some cases, some EVs will do it in a certain portion of the band, and sometimes they'll do it across the entire spectrum. The last thing that this guy, Josh, said that I really liked, just because you have an EV doesn't mean you can't do ham radio. So the problem is real, but a solution exists. That's what I'm starting to believe. Maybe I should have said that as, so the problem is real, but a solution is real too. I'll change the slides later. Does anyone have any questions or comments before I go on? All right, I will continue on. So real quick about my story. So now drilling in a little bit more, I'm going to talk about the Tesla specifically. So why I learned fairly quick on the Tesla is that I'm not allowed to connect to the accessory battery at all for my Tesla, which was first a stumbling block for me because I'm like, how am I going to install my radio if I can't connect to the battery? And that's because the computer is super sensitive. Obviously, no through glass antenna mounting. And they also said, don't do a lip mount near the edge of the glass. So in this picture, you're looking at Model 3, and they have a trunk. And you can see that trunk lip is really close to the glass. And if you zoom in on it, it's super tight. And if that lip starts hitting that glass and starts cracking it, it could fracture. And as you may know, on a Tesla, that glass goes from the rear back all the way up to the front. And the whole thing is one piece of glass. So it's an expensive thing to break. The maybes on me is that the vehicle is made of steel and aluminum, at least the Model 3 and Model Y is. The only place that's steel, though, is the quarter panels and the rear hatch. So no mag mounts unless you want to put it on the rear hatch. Possibly on the 3. You could probably do a mag mount on the trunk, but there's not a lot of metal there. So I'm kind of moving towards these other things. I could use a lip mount. I'm going to jump down. A lip mount on the front hood and the back hatch. I saw a Tesla out in the parking lot that has one on the front hood. I could use a roof rack antenna mount. That would work. Or I could do a trailer hitch mount. And the thing I liked about the trailer hitch mount is my previous car was a Subaru, and I have a trailer hitch mount for a Tar Heel antenna. So I'm like, I could do that. The other thing I thought was cool is, so how am I going to get power here? I could plug into the cigarette adapter. And I don't think this is common amongst most vehicles, or maybe I should say older vehicles, because I don't know if the new ICE vehicles are doing this. But the Tesla runs 12 amps continuous and 16 amps peak. My 706 will do 10 amps on single sideband, but if I'm doing CW, it'll do 20 amps. So I could do single sideband, mount it to the cigarette adapter, and use the power off of there. I haven't tried that, but it looks like it's possible. All right, so I'm going to move on. How am I doing with time? Oh my goodness. Okay. My story, the first road test. So I'll be pretty quick about this. What happened was, there we are. So what I did is I drove my car down to Iowa. I have some ham radio buddies down in Iowa who were very thrilled to work with me on this. Drove my car down there. I took my K3S. I put it in the car and I use portable power. So at this point, I'm not connecting to the power of the Tesla. I wanted to be off the Tesla, any of the electronics of the Tesla in case I would get some kind of RFI coming through the wire. I put on my Tar Heel on the trailer hitch, and my results were S3, sometimes S4, and blew my mind. Now the trailer hitch, I'll tell you a little bit about this. It's connected through a bolt. So the trailer hitch is locked on. It's not going to wiggle at all. I did not use any grounding straps at this point. No grounding at all. But S3 and S4. So I thought, that's pretty promising. So with that, I decided to plan my Minnesota QSO party. So this is the first time I'm doing the QSO party with I'm gonna grab my water here. First time I'm doing the QSO party with my Tesla. One moment. So this is the first time I'm doing my contest with the Tesla. I planned this thing like crazy. I planned out I planned to do this as portable mobile. So what I would do is I would stop and operate every time I went to a new county. I planned the whole trip out. Let me see, where's my, oh, there it is. I planned my whole trip out. I looked at how much power I would need to start, how much power I'd have in each location I stopped in. I put all that down on a sheet of paper. I used charts. I used websites to tell me how much power I need. I went nuts on this, and I'm glad I did because there were a couple of things I didn't expect. And now that I can't see my preview, let me see what my next picture is. Okay, so I'll show that. One of the things that was cool is, so I started going down there and I was like, okay, I'm going to stop in. Actually, I could show this. I'm going to stop. So this is a map of southwest Minnesota. The very upper right corner where it's a little white, that is the Twin Cities. Every red spot here is a Tesla supercharger. My goal for the Minnesota QSO party was to go from Minneapolis the night before the contest. I'm going to drive all the way down to the far left supercharger. That's Worthington. I was going to look up. I forgot how many miles that was, but I should be able to do that with a charge in St. Peter is what my A Better Route Planner is a website I use to tell me how far I could go. So I'm like, excellent, all good. What I didn't think about though is, and I kind of mentioned it on the previous slide, I think, the travel. It was, so the Minnesota QSO party is in February, nice and cold, right? Didn't really think about it. I'm like, it'll be fine. It was 5 degrees. And on the way down to Worthington, I don't think I reached St. Peter yet. My Tesla was first saying, oh yeah, you'll have 20% power left when you arrive. Great, no problem. That's what a Better Route Planner told me. And as I started driving to St. Peter, it said, oh, no, it'll be 15. It'll be 10. It'll be 5. And pretty soon it was saying, you will arrive at your destination with negative 12% power. Not a happy camper. So what happened is I had to stop and charge longer at St. Peter to charge up to 100% so I could get down there. So I charged longer. I'm already behind schedule, right? So it's getting me farther behind schedule. And then I start driving down there and the Tesla's like, you cannot make Worthington on a full charge right now. It is too cold. So what I ended up doing is the dot to the right of Worthington is Sherburne. So I end up changing course slightly. You can see it's a pretty easy course correction. And I went down to Sherburne and I charged up at Sherburne. And then I ended up driving halfway between Sherburne and Worthington, spending the night there. So now the car has to sit out overnight. I anticipated that. I only lost about 5% power on that. Let's see here. What do I have next? So here's what I learned, and I don't have my preview on this one, so I'll have to read the screen. Tesla overestimated my mileage, what my range would be. The Tesla did, and a Better Route Planner did, which surprised me. Weather completely affects my range. Anything below 20 degrees, I found I've got like a 40% range loss. So that, my friend, is range anxiety right there. Planning ahead helped me, and climate control, maybe the climate control is consuming some power. I wasn't about to test it last time, right? One other thing I wanted. Yeah, okay. So the next slide, this next point here, supercharger affects where I could go. I gotta talk fast. If you notice above Worthington, there are no superchargers up there. So my initial plan was to go down Worthington. I was going to go up the west edge of Minnesota, turn around and come back and hit all those counties. But because my mileage was, my range was being affected, I couldn't do that. I do drive over 70 miles per hour sometimes. Anyone who has an ICE vehicle or an electric vehicle or a hybrid of any kind will know that the faster you drive, the more you consume, right? And you don't get your range. So definitely had that. And then I put external RFI noise. That was, I tried operating at the Tesla supercharger in Sherburne for a little bit. That was fun. It was a little bit of noise. I don't want to drive too slowly though. I love that. Little snail with a little jet engine. All right. So here's some pictures of my Tesla. This is the trailer hitch I had. The trailer hitch is actually, so the antenna mount here is a customized bike rack, which a friend helped me customize, change it over. We put a mount on it so I could put the Tar Heel on it. You'll see I have 2 grounding straps, one to each side. I'll show you where those connect to later. And that's what that is. On the right picture here, this is viewed from above. And so I have the ground straps coming in, coming down, and they connect to the metal of the frame. They had a coating on that, so I had to scratch into it. And that's where I used the serrated washers on that. Then the one on the picture on the left is I have a lip mount for UHF, VHF. And so what I have is I have a ground strap that goes underneath the lip mount. And then that ground strap actually comes around and connects to the left corner of the trunk. So where you see on the right picture, you see I have a wire going to the right and the wire going to the left. That ground strap also connects to the left. So everything is grounded together. So then I was encouraged. I went to Dayton, did mobile operation on that, 20 meter, 40 meter. I got S3, S4. Acceleration sometimes would give me an S5. It wasn't very often. And what I learned, it's definitely possible to do portable mobile operation, and it's definitely possible to do EV mobile. That's the same thing. What to do, what to expect. So here's what I would do if I was going to encourage you all to go for an hybrid or an EV and do your thing. First off, there are a lot of different types of EVs out there, a lot of different manufacturers, but there's a lot of types of hybrids, right? From DC to daylight, if I might say. So I didn't see any common thread in here. Some people in those previous slides, I told you that one person had a hybrid, had terrible noise on 10 meter, and the other person on the hybrid had no problem. So I think your mileage will vary. And I do believe that some vehicles will do better than others. And my personal opinion is that this is going to just get better over time. The other part is that do a good installation. So it's good grounding, bonding, use a braided strap, the serrated washers. Okay. Serrated washers. Josh not only grounds, so what this Josh guy does is he actually grounds every door of his vehicle to the frame of the car. And not only does he do that, he also grounds, you saw how I was grounding my lip mount antenna. He also grounds from that lip mount antenna. He's under the lip mount, but he also comes above the lip mount and then grounds it again to the top of where it like connects to the antenna. So he's grounding both sides of that lip mount antenna. So he's working on a good ground. Also, good materials help. I think what I'd like to say with this is take the time to install things properly. You won't be happy unless you really spend some time to do that. What to expect on radio, I believe 2 meter and 70 centimeter are going to be fine. 6 meter, maybe depending on your vehicle. I do believe for my Tesla, all of these work. 10 meter, 20, 40. AM radio, I think, is a question. But mobile operation with HF. So one more thing, one of the things I didn't tell you about the Minnesota QSO party and the Wisconsin QSO party, when I did those contests this year, I didn't feel really good about it. I felt like I just wasn't getting the contacts. I was doing a lot of time driving. I wasn't real excited. I felt like everyone was doing better than me. I later on got an email from someone congratulating me. I actually won first place in my category, which blew my mind. First time I've ever won a contest. So super excited about that. They did misspell my last name, but that's okay. And then I do have a confession to make. I do feel really bad for the other person that was in my category. Wisconsin QSO party, I actually made top 10 and I got a certificate for that. So super excited. Don't know where in the top 10. And that is all I have. Questions? And let me, do you want to run it? I'll let you say it on the mic.
They should have heard that.
Well, they should have. I don't know if they heard it on
I'm a CW guy. I don't use microphones.
That's right.
Did you do any bonding or extra grounding between vehicle parts like we do traditionally?
Good question. I did not do any other grounding except for what I showed here. So right now I've got the 2 grounds onto the trailer hitch, and then I have the trailer hitch mounted really well. And then I have the other ground for the 2 meter, the UHF, VHF, but no other grounding right now. I'm debating on doing door to door. I don't know. Goes back to, take the time to install well, right? Try it. But that's all I've done. Yes.
I just wanted to mention that I have an SDR picture of a waterfall of my wife's driving up her Prius up the driveway in battery power.
Yes.
You can see the grass growing on it.
Really? Okay.
But that was
what,
just for a couple seconds.
what does she have?
2013 Prius.
It's a Prius 2013. Is it a plug-in?
No, it's
plug-in?
just
It's not the plug-in one.
just
Okay.
not the plug-in. So it's what
Interesting.
you would call I think a weak hybrid.
Yeah.
It doesn't if it's on battery power, like if it's on battery power, by the time you get to the top of the parking ramp, the traction battery's empty.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
yeah,
only got a
for
couple
sure.
minutes worth of traction battery.
One last thing I would say, you reminded me of it. There's a book called Atomic Habits, and they talk about incremental gains. Something about like incremental, small improvements make incremental gains. And so they talk about how this group in they were doing the Tour de France in Britain and they weren't winning. And they got someone on board and he said, we are going to do incremental improvements on everything. And they went so far as to finding the right pillow for their people to sleep on when they go to bed at night. They started winning the Tour de France because of it. Now you're not going to win the Tour de France because you buy a pillow, but those incremental improvements will help. Any other questions?
I'd like to throw something in. I've been in product development of power electronics since 1974. And some of the first projects I worked on were switching power supplies in mobile Army radar units and the like, and on to doing power electronics on the Airbus 380. It can be done to put power electronics into a RF sensitive area. It takes time, it takes money, it takes engineering.
Interesting.
I think the car
Very
companies are
interesting.
just plain giving up.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that.
I don't think they're all going to do that.
Oh, one more question? Or I can read it.
I don't know where I saw it. It was on the internet, so it must be true. But
Yeah.
I heard that cars that are not traditional BEVs might start to get really picky about battery being tapped into directly, and watching
Battery what?
batteries being like on the Tesla.
Ah.
It monitors every
Oh.
electron coming and going.
Yep.
I think I read that modern cars that are not BEVs are starting to do that a little bit as well, which will add to the problem for everybody potentially.
Interesting.
So
Yes.
you're running off the cigarette lighter though still, right?
I'm running
For all
off of
your
what?
work? The cigarette lighter? The 12 volt?
No. Oh, sorry. No, I kept on portable power for
Oh,
all these.
got it.
So I have my
got it.
own special battery. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, that was in my notes. Yeah, I go portable power. I
Yeah.
don't connect. I have connected into my Tesla and
Yeah.
tried it. I'm not getting any extra noise from it.
Yeah, I'm running off the AC. I mean the
The cigarette.
12 volt
Oh, the
plug,
12 volt. Yep.
the cigarette lighter. Well, one idea I might have is have a battery that trickle charges off the cigarette lighter, and then that is hooked up to the radio. So
Yeah.
as long as you're not continuous, it'll act as a buffer.
Yeah. Very good. Cool. Thank you for that. Thank you everyone for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you.